Welcome to You Don't Know Ball's Week 7 grades for every NFL team. Starting out in the F tier, got the New Orleans Saints.
What else is new, Hunter?
Again, they're here. I mean, dude, like, at what point do the Saints not go into the F tier after week 2?
Well, I'll tell you when. And it will happen when they decide to can Dennis Allen. Because again, to what Richard Sherman was saying on the broadcast, he's been saying what every Saints fan has been saying for weeks, years, besides the first 2 weeks. This team has given up on Dennis Allen year in and year out. It always hits a point they do. It's never been more glaringly obvious than right now, though, that they genuinely just don't have faith in what Dennis Allen is doing. And why should they?
Do you think they take the Chargers next week? You think they win?
So the real question is, can they lose by less than 30? We'll see, Hunter.
All right, next we have the New York Giants, commonplace in the F tier. Unfortunately, you put up 3 points against a division rival who has kind of struggled throughout the year. And 3 points?
They gave Sirianni a reason to start talking shit again. That's a reason to be in the F tier by itself.
Yeah, that was a less than fun watch. And it's so funny. I felt like after that game, I finally started seeing like real media. Like, they've been like skimming over it the last couple months, but it's like, Daniel Jones' time is up. Like, oh yeah, we've known this for 2 years. Congrats. Like, now people are, I think the ownership is done for real now.
There's so many things wrong with the Giants, though. Again, I'm putting a lot of it on Daniel Jones, but it's so much more than Daniel Jones, which is why if you're a Giants fan, much like a Saints fan, you're sitting there like, yeah, just queue up the entire rebuild at this point. There's no avoiding what the reality is.
Carolina Panthers. Just probably one of the worst losses of the year. I mean, the Saints loss was pretty bad. Like, but this one was...
this was the one.
Dude, Marcus Mariota? Marcus Mariota did this to you? Cliff Kingsbury did this to you? And let's just say for what it is. What are they doing with Bryce Young? Why is he sitting behind Andy Dalton at this point? Like, I understand why you did it before. But now are you selling to the team? Oh, yeah, he's the better option. They both stink really bad.
Well, no, and again, I think let me just address the real elephant in the room, Hunter, because this is something that not enough people are talking about yet. We were sitting here kind of questioning, is Dave Canales really the right hire? And I think now you're watching what Liam Cohen has been doing with the Bucs, and you're like, oh God, like we're looking at another one and done. Very likely. I mean, again, because
you think?
I mean, look, it's Tepper's the one calling the shots.
Because of, okay, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you think it's because of Canales' performance or Tepper being like an overarching owner?
Is Canales doing anything to make you say that he deserves the job? Is it like either though? I mean, I'm not sure to say it's both.
Look at their team though.
Yeah, but then look what Liam Cohen's doing with the Bucs. I would say that it's like they're even more productive than last year. There's a lot of things that go into it. I'm just going to say, look, if I'm the Panthers, I am certainly saying to myself, I don't know if you want to hold on to something that you can already almost see the writing on the wall for. And it's nothing against Dave Canales, but it's kind of like, I'm going to say on that for right now, I'm going to say, look, not only did you make the wrong decision with a lot of things, it looks like you made the wrong decision with Dave as well. And that's not, it's just rock bottom for the Panthers. Just Panthers fans would agree. It's rock bottom.
Moving into the D tier, we have the New England Patriots who lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who looked like they couldn't buy a win, looked like they couldn't buy any optimism. Drake May still played okay, played well. Like, that is the one shining light of the New England Patriots. Dobbs, wait, who am I?
You're Jalen Polk.
Yeah, I am Jalen Polk. That is ridiculous. Gerard Mayo calling the defense soft, ridiculous. Like, aren't you a defensive head coach? Like, if I'm right, am I wrong? Like,
again, and I like to remind everybody, because Patriots fans just cracked me up with this whole thing where it was like, no, dude, Belichick had to go. Like, Belichick, well, you got what you asked for.
I don't understand.
All you had was the defense.
This was the guy that was groomed to be the next head coach.
No, this is why people don't appreciate what they have till it's gone. Yeah, I know Belichick's getting older, all this. But look, dude, Belichick was dealt an absolute garbage hand. And not that Belichick, or not, I mean, not that Mayo's been dealt much of a better one, but to my point, Hunter, you had a good defense. You had at least this, not, you had a hard defense. You didn't have a soft defense. Well, now you have a shit offense and a soft defense. You don't appreciate what you have till it's gone. And Belichick is going to be a coach of a really good team next year. And I'm just going to be sitting here going, yeah,
Crystal
that's
ball
why
it.
you don't fire really good coaches when it's all you have. Just a reminder.
Tennessee Titans. Dobbs. The way that we talked about the Titans in the offseason, where we're like, I don't know if going for an expensive, veteran-heavy team in the first kind of year of a rebuild is the way to go about it. And I understand you want to see what you have in Levis, but you look at the Titans, and they are 1-5. Calvin Ridley sucks. I guess they found out about Will Levis real quick. Good thing they have expensive contracts that they have to go through. Now, D-Hop will probably get dealt. They have Ridley for, I don't know, what was that, 4 years? The defense has not been playing that great. L'Jarius Sneed has not been playing that great.
You're being generous on L'Jarius Sneed.
I don't know, dude. The Brian Callahan hire was just always mind-boggling to me.
I'm gonna leave it at I was gonna say we were just talking about you not appreciating what you have till it's gone. Mike Vrabel's gonna be a coach of a good team next year too. Miami. I'm just gonna be sitting here with my feet in my hands, just reminding people you don't appreciate what you have till it's gone. Hunter, the theme of the day.
Miami Dolphins in the D category. Hopefully, this should be the last time, because if it isn't, there needs to be some serious questions about Mike McDaniel.
Oh, there already is. Oh, there's already serious questions. I just want to bring up too, I know Dolphins fans were making a big deal of it, as they should. The half starts, you're sitting there with one win, and Mike McDaniel's just laughing it up. We suck. Laughing it up with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. And Jalen Waddle are having the time of their lives too. Dolphins fans care more about their team winning at this point than the head coach, which has got to be a punch in the gut if you're a Dolphins fan.
Yeah. Atlanta Falcons, just kind of a weird loss to Seattle. It just did not feel like they were all on the same page in this game. And while I do think Seattle was kind of looking for that get back on track game, and they found it with Atlanta, I was just disappointed in Atlanta's offense.
No, well, I was going to say, I think this kind of confirms, what we've been talking about with the Falcons here kind of week in and week out. It's we think they can be a playoff team, and they're an above average team in the NFC, which isn't necessarily, the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, the NFC is actually a lot better than we thought it was going to be.
It's better than the AFC.
But I was going to say, it's actually a weird thing what's happening this year. But I think what you kind of say is, it's the bottom line is, do we feel like the Falcons really have an identity at this point?
Yeah.
Because I really can't sit here and tell you that I think they have a very firm identity. It's kind of like they show up week in, week out, and then it's kind of they're going to have a really bad. So, do I feel firm in their identity necessarily? No. And do I think that I'm confident they're going to light up every week? Absolutely not. This was reconfirmation of that. Again, can the Falcons be a playoff team? Should they? Yeah. But I'm nowhere near as confident as I was in them at the beginning of the year, and I think you would agree with that. And I think to this point, maybe Falcons fans would almost agree with that.
All of the games that the Falcons have played have been one-score games, except for the Panthers game last week, which they won by 18, and the Seahawks game where they lost by 20. I think the biggest thing with the Falcons is a lot of the time they play well enough to just hang around until the end, and then they either make the play or they don't, and that determines if they win or lose.
And I don't think you want to hinge on that when you're trying to be a Super Bowl contender.
No. Las Vegas Raiders, just a fucking sad team. Sad team. I mean, I don't know. What do you do if you're the Raiders at this point? You bring in Aiden O'Connell, you bench Gardner Minshew, and then Aiden O'Connell breaks his finger. Back to Gardner Minshew. He turns the ball over, 4 times? And you got the Chiefs next week, then the Bengals, Dolphins that will have Tua, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, the Jaguars, the Saints, and the Chargers. So not a single easy game on that schedule. Hoping that the Saints turn it around. It might be more of a game. That might be game of the week, but I don't know. That would
be the worst game of the year.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like, what hope is there for the Raiders at this point?
Hunter, I know what the hope is. I'll tell you what the hope is. You know what you got to do if you're a Raiders fan? You got to pull up in the pose. You got to say, Tom Brady, can you hear me? Save me, Tom Brady. Bill Belichick, can you hear me? Save me, Bill Belichick. If you're a Raiders fan, you're in the same boat as the Saints. I'm telling you, as a Saints fan, the rebuild is imminent. You have to pray say a prayer that Tom Brady hears you, because Tom Brady needs to be calling the shots.
But Dobbs,
Lord have mercy.
they got Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that such a dandy move in hindsight, Hunter? Aren't the Raiders so excited they just dropped one of the biggest bags in history? Yeah, it's almost like we were talking about it before the season. I'm gonna leave it at that.
It's the AP Tom Telesco combo. San Francisco
Lord have mercy,
49ers.
Hunter.
Lord have mercy on the Raider Nation. San Francisco 49ers in the D category. It was just a bad game for the 49ers. Just a bad game all around. And I know there was very injury heavy, with Ayuk going out, but they didn't even look even close to the same level as the Chief in that game. Not once did I feel like the 49ers are going to win that game.
No, well, I'd say not only that, and this is why you're really pissed off if you're a Niners fan, as we talked about in one of the videos that released this week. Look, the bottom line is, you're not playing up to standards. You're not playing up to pedigree. And you're starting to question your head coach for probably the first time in his tenure, legitimately. Yeah, the other years you're like, okay, this is shit, but they were dealing with like horrible, abhorrent injury situations. This year it's a bad injury situation, but you still have enough of your key guys that you're like, oh God, I got to start actually questioning the guy that we thought was our savior. It's troubling times over there right now in San Francisco.
Last team in the D category, we have the New York Jets. We got Devontae Adams. It's fixed. We fired Saleh. It's fixed. It's not fixed. It's not fixed, and it didn't look good. First, the Russell Wilson led Pittsburgh Steelers, new offense, first time playing in weeks, and he goes out and kills them.
First time since Christmas last year, if I'm not mistaken. Not even Christmas, like a week before Christmas. Russ made a transition from Christmas to Halloween, and he's still a good. I think this is what I really want to talk about, though, Hunter, because this is where it gets concerning to me. Jokes aside, this is just me just being objective for a second. You were on it. I was off it. I was wrong. When you said that not only was Saleh the scapegoat, but he should have been fired. Look, I said he had to go regardless. Well, at this point, it's starting to look like Saleh was the architect behind the defense, because now I think you're sitting there and you're like, oh, no. Like, nah, wait. Saleh was the reason this defense was performing. Ulbrich was getting the credit. Oh, man. I don't think Ulbrich can handle the responsibilities of the head coach and still having the defense humming. I think it's looking crystal clear right now. And if the writing's, dare I say, on the wall, that we are in for a pardon the what's the word I'm looking for here? The joke. I can't think of the word. Are the Jets about to have a plane crash, Hunter?
I don't know, dude. It's bad. It's really bad. It's crazy because Russell Wilson played better than Aaron Rodgers.
Way better.
He did.
And he didn't even play that good. Because to the point of, he played much better than we expected. But yes, to the people's credit and the film watchers and everyone who was watching even the game, you have to watch film for this, there was some balls in there where Russ got the benefit of the doubt from George Pickens making an amazing play, right? Coming back to the ball, doing juggling, crazy stuff. But he still played better than Aaron Rodgers. And I will say this too, though. Aaron Rodgers played better than the stats show as well, because Garrett Wilson literally led to 2 of the interceptions because he couldn't hold on to the ball.
Moving to the C tier, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who barely scraped by the Miami Dolphins. I don't know, dude. This Colts team, when it has Anthony Richardson, just does not look the same as when they have Joe Flacco. And to me, that is a concern because, yes, while you do need to develop Richardson, it's just doesn't look good on the field.
Well, I would say, yeah. And look, here's the bottom line, Hunter, at this point. The bottom line is it's just a terribly awkward situation to be in as an owner and a head coach. We've already kind of touched on this. It's like, yeah, you're 35-plus-year-old guy that everyone didn't even expect to be in the league anymore, who had an amazing resurgence last year. He's playing indefinitely better than your 4th overall second-year player that you invested all this capital in. But as we've already touched on, it's like just let him sit, let him develop. You're obviously not winning the Super Bowl this year, but for whatever reason, they're hell bent on making him get out there and developing. But Hunter, again, do you see the development every single week? Because I
No.
don't. I think if we're not stagnating, we're regressing at this point. It's like we're just
Currently, he has not, he's at 48.5 completion percentage this year. He has 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Not good.
they
Not
just
good.
barely beat the Dolphins. I think that about
Tua-less
surmises
Dolphins.
that basically surmises the entire A-rich tenure this year, unfortunately.
Moving into the Houston Texans and AFC South, friend. 86 yards for Stroud.
Someone said he
86
threw
yards?
tomorrow's date, or so. Like,
I think, dude, it's really concerning because if you look at it, like Slovic was like regarded as one of these like, hothead coaching candidates. I think there was a reason he didn't get hired, and also when you look at it, like the reality is, once teams get tape on you, if you can beat that, then that's what matters. And now I do think that the Texans are still a good team, but they should have beaten this Packers team.
No, they definitely should have beat them especially when Jordan Love's giving you the ball like he was. And again, look, I'm not saying Jordan Love necessarily played like bad. He didn't play good either. He kind of is. He's not him, but he plays very similar to Brett Favre at this point. If you're a Packers fan, you're like, okay, we're not getting Aaron Rodgers 2.0. We might be getting Brett Favre 2.0. Like, he's going to have some throws where you can't believe it, and he's going to have some throws you also can't believe it, but not in a good way. So it's kind of, you're in a weird situation if you're the Packers. But again, Jordan Love, I still am very high on. I'm not saying this in a bad way. What I am saying is that, look, he didn't play a good game, and you should have taken advantage of it and won that game. That's going to go to those games at the end of the year you're looking back on. If you don't finish the 1 seed, you finish really close to 1 seed, and you're like, golly, that was one we had to have.
Cleveland Browns find their way into the C category, which I think this game says a lot more about the Bengals than the Browns, but we'll talk about the Bengals when we get to them. They lose by 7 points to the Bengals. And Jameis Winston comes in.
You mean Dorian?
Well, no. Jameis came in at the end.
Wait. Hold on. I'm mistaken, Hunter. I ended up turning this one off so early. See, I was confused because I thought that he was inactive for the game.
So that's what I thought too.
So yeah, well, I need a little bit of a teaching here.
I think what happens is Jameis was inactive for the game. He doesn't count as a guy on your 53-man roster. But I believe if the starting quarterback is injured, you're able to dress or bring in one of the emergency quarterbacks. I believe that's how it works.
So
you're spot on about Winston, that. With 4 minutes in the game, threw for 67 yards, half of what Deshaun Watson threw, and a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding when I tell you I haven't even gotten to see the end of this game yet because it was such a hard wash that it was one of those ones that just fell to the back of the rotation. Whenever it came on red zone, I would go to the kitchen, make some food, do something else.
The C really comes from the Browns defense being able to kind of contain the Bengals offense, even though we know the Bengals have really struggled playing in Cleveland. But it was not a great performance. Next,
again, more indicative on the Bengals. We are going to get to that.
Yeah, the Los Angeles Rams in the C tier. I mean, I don't know. This Rams team is just very upsetting. I know they're injury ridden, but it's just like you only beat the Rams or the Raiders by 5.
Well, that's why, again, yeah, it's like one of those games you win, but I was about to put them in the D tier, but then I just said to myself, I was like, you know what? You win a game, it's hard to put you lower than C, but it's not a good win. The Rams aren't a good team. They're hanging on by a thread. They'll win games versus teams like the Raiders because of Sean McVay, staff, but the writing's on the wall. It's going to be an uphill battle all year for the Rams. I don't think they're going to find a way to win a bunch more games. It's going to be like pick and choose against really bad units.
Yeah, I think the game versus the Vikings is going to be very, very telling. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who lost to the Ravens last night, and while they did have a chance to win at the end by, almost going down and scoring, it just, the way they turned the ball over, how explosive they let Derrick Henry get, it just was not a good showing overall. And props to them for being able to kind of come back and get up to 31 points. But at the end of the day, most of the time, they were not able to get it done. After Baker threw that first pick, and the Godwin touchdown was called back, I think the game completely changed.
No, absolutely. And again, this is also just one of those games where like the score doesn't really tell the true result. Like I
No,
said,
the
in our
Ravens
Ravens
dominated.
discussion, yeah, they pulled up to that gas station. They didn't just take their foot off the gas. They put that thing in park and went to go get some snacks. It was over. And they played it as such. Not that you should. I don't think that's necessarily a great look for the Ravens either, but it is what it is. That's what happened. And the Bucks didn't play a good game. And so they played well enough to be in the C tier, but nothing higher.
Last team in the C tier, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, who barely lost to the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. I don't know. This offense is really bad. I thought that we would see it a bit better. I don't. Here's the reality is, like, we knew this offense had really no weapons, but this is a Cardinals team that you should have been able to run like all over them. Like, not even a doubt. Like, the Chargers finished with 59 rushing yards, averaging 2.7 yards per carry. Why?
Well, I'll tell you why, Hunter. I was going to say that this kind of my thing is, for the first couple weeks, I think teams were a little bullish that like, okay, we still got to really protect against Herbert. We know what Herbert can do. Yeah, we know that they don't have the greatest weapons in the world. That might be an understatement. I'm being generous, but we still have to really protect against Herbert. But then teams were like, wait a minute. No, the way they were really going to stop the team is by just absolutely front loading the box, saying you're not moving the ball on the ground, beat me with Herbert. And to that point, that's what Herbert had to do yesterday. But when you're not finding red zone success, you're not playing good in crucial downs, which the Chargers aren't. Story is what it is. If you stop the run, you're going to very likely stop the Chargers.
349 yards for Herbert, 0 touchdowns offensively for the Chargers. Moving into the B-C+ tier, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we can talk about the Bengals and their struggles. Obviously, their defense has struggled all year, and the offense has really been the bright spot. But to go against a Browns team that's 1-6 now, well, 1-5 when they played them, knowing it's a division rival and not being able to stomp them out like you stomped out even better teams, it's kind of embarrassing.
No, I think it's kind of just indicative of what the Bengals are this year. Like, when they get a pretty good week from the defense, the offense doesn't play very good. And then when they get a really bad week from the defense, the offense plays really good, but it doesn't matter because the defense just allowed 350 plus yards, multiple touchdowns. It's one of those years where you can't really count on either side of the ball consistently, and that's just the recipe to just not be a good team.
The Rams or the Bengals, to me, are a cocky team. Not to say that they are cocky, but the way they play their opponents, like, they always play down to their level of competition. Like, that is the reality for them, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a shocking turn of events this year for the Bengals, but it is what it is. We got to call out what we see.
Arizona Cardinals, B-C+ tier. You got the win. Wasn't very impressive on offense outside of James Conner in the run game. Kyler Murray didn't look that great. Obviously, you saw some frustration from Marv as well, which is very interesting. I don't know. I think this Arizona Cardinals team is just what we expected them. Like, this is where I would expect to see them most weeks in the B-C+ tier.
No, absolutely. What I will say though, Hunter, and I think Cardinals fans would agree, it's starting to get to a point where you want to see Kyler like make that jump again. You're starting to say, God, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that we drafted Marv this high. He's not producing like he should be. Kyler's not hitting him like he should be. And Kyler isn't playing as good as he should be. Bottom line, I think, again, if for anything, you're saying I'm pretty happy with what the defense has done this year. But from the standpoint of, and especially with the personnel, the defense has worlds to go as far as developing that personnel unit we've discussed plenty of times. But on offense, you're far from the worst unit in the league and you're not producing how you should be. I think you're a little concerned at this point if you're a Cardinals fan as far as that is.
Moving into the B tier, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Honestly, this is like kind of the perfect spot for them. I think they handled their business as a 1-5 team versus another 1-5 team. Well, now 1-6 in the Patriots. They struggled early on, and I was like, oh my Lord, this is about to be a disaster class in London for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Doug Peterson is going to be hanging out with in Big Ben. He's not coming home to Jacksonville. but they got the win. They looked better, and that is, I think, all you can ask for from the Jaguars, who look just like the worst team in football.
No, yeah. And again, at least you have the cons of, stamp of approval seemingly after the game with what they posted on social media. If you're Doug EP, you're chilling now. You got your feet kicked up. You're like, I bought myself at least a couple more weeks. But but regardless, why they're B and they're not A? If it was another team, right, maybe they were playing another team, this would probably be an A performance, but you played the Patriots and you struggled the majority of the game, kind of like we discussed. It's one of those games where, yeah, the score doesn't necessarily tell the full story. And they let Drake May go crazy on them. And not that Drake May is playing really good ball. I'm not trying to take anything away from Drake May, but with the offense the Patriots have, I think you're still sitting there fairly concerned about that if you're the Jaguars. They won the game. They scored 30 points. You got to be in the B tier, but that's why you're not in the A tier.
Minnesota Vikings in the B tier. They lost to the Detroit Lions on a last-second field goal. I think this was a very good game. Has Brian Flores' defense slowed down a bit?
I think, again, you could say that, but you also could say, like, Jared Goff's just been amazing against the blitz. Yeah. The Lions are amazing against the blitz. Ben Johnson. And it's kind of like what we predicted, right? We said it's going to be someone who's going to figure out this defense that'll be able to beat them. It'll be Ben Johnson. And they beat him by the skin of their teeth. It was right. They had to make a game-winning drive. They had to have it in that moment, and they did. But I'm not surprised that the Vikings allowed 30+ points because it's the Lions. The Lions are just hotter than a pistol right now. It makes sense. They hung in there as close as they could. It was a great game between two teams. And so, yeah, it's why you're in the B tier after a loss, because you still played a really good game that you very well could have won. They could have been in the A tier. This could have been flip-flopped. It's off one drive. It is what it is.
Green Bay Packers also win on a last-second field goal versus the Houston Texans at home. I think what you were saying about Love was so funny because that is exactly how I view him. He's more like Brett Favre than he is Aaron Rodgers in the way that he is a gunslinger, and you're forced to respect it, but he does put the ball in harm's way quite a bit. This game has no concern. Like, this doesn't make me concerned about the Packers, but it did concern me a little bit about the Texans because they should have finished this game out, and was very pleasantly surprised with the Packers defense in this game. Obviously, they got gashed in the run, but to slow down Stroud to 86 yards is crazy.
No, absolutely. I was going to say, if anything, you got to feel pretty damn good if you're a Packers fan about the defense. Because, to that point, the run defense is still problematic. Definitely still needs to be addressed. But at least you figured out the pass defense. You shut down one of the best quarterbacks in football. You got to feel like it's at least a step forward.
Moving into our last team in the B tier, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. They got business done. It looked good. But at the end of the day, the offense still was not clicking at the highest clip that it could be.
No, yeah. This is a grade off of the defense. But again, you won the game. You played far from your best ball. It's self-explanatory. It's why they're a B2 team this week, right? Like they did everything they have to do to win, minus the fact the offense isn't playing good. But Hunter, we both know the offense is going to figure itself out soon. It is what it is. The Chiefs are coming, and the Chiefs are still undefeated.
The Denver Broncos are our first team in the A tier. They came and stomped the Spencer Rattler-led Saints. Did we expect anything else, though? I didn't expect 33 points, but
I think I did. I think I said something along the lines of that Sean Payton and Bo Nix are going to come in there and score 30+. I think if we went back to last week, I think I did say that. So I for one, am not surprised in the slightest, but it is much more reminiscent of the Saints than it is the Broncos. However, if you're the Broncos, again, you got to feel damn good. This roster is so far from complete. Bo Nix is so far from complete, and Bo Nix is not really even playing very good football, but you still are above 500. That's the Sean Payton recipe right there, man. I try to tell everybody, y'all tried counting Sean out, this, that, and the third. Sean Payton is a winning coach. Enjoy it.
Detroit Lions get the win at home versus Minnesota. I think both sides of the ball played really well. Goff played really well. And what I took away from this game, Dobbs, was that the Lions trust their kicker. They didn't trust their kicker last year, and that lost them games. The Lions trust their kicker, and that could be so big for them going later into the year.
If I'm not mistaken here, Hunter, another kicker that was a soccer player for a long time who turned kicker to the very end of his college career slash right, like very end of when the soccer stopped working. Again, call me crazy. It makes a lot of sense to go get kickers that have been kicking balls their entire life.
Yeah.
And at multiple angles, multiple. Yeah. Hashtag get more soccer players to play kicker.
Buffalo Bills, very concerning to start the game versus Tennessee Titans. I remember I was seeing the score, I think it was like 10-7. And I was like, what is going on? Like, are the Bills just going to be up and down all year? But then they came in, they handled business. The Tennessee offense is just not good. The Tennessee defense is better than the offense, but I think it still has quite a ways to go. And Buffalo went in there and they handled business versus a team that was supposed to have a decent defense.
No, yeah. And again, look, I'm not changing my tune on Buffalo until they make me change it, but because they do have those weeks where they fall really flat. But most weeks you should expect the Bills to be playing anywhere from a B to A game, sometimes an A plus. And that's kind of just the Bills right now. You do want to see a little bit more consistency from the standpoint of not those drastic fall off weeks, but the Bills are what they are, and the Bills are a good team.
Baltimore Ravens are our last team in the A tier. I'm willing to bet that they would have been an A plus if they did not allow that comeback.
I was going to say that's all it was. If they didn't stop at the gas station, metaphorically, yeah, this was an A plus game. They did. They got a few snacks. They have to fall down to A for that. But this was, for all intents and purposes, for 7/8 of the game, an A plus performance.
Yeah.
And it was an A plus performance from Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Let's leave it at that.
They played crazy. Moving into the A plus tier, we have the Seattle Seahawks, who just really dominated the Atlanta Falcons all game. And the reality is, when the Seahawks are healthy and when the Seahawks are doing the right things, they are just about as dangerous as any other team in the NFL that is not in like the top tier upper echelon of teams. Like, they can play with anybody.
No, and Geno Smith's playing really good ball. When Geno's got time in that pocket and that defense is humming, like you're saying, Hunter, look, I'm not going to count them out necessarily versus anybody because they've shown that they are developing that pedigree. They've already been a good team, but they're a team you got to take seriously because they could show up any week and throw you a few haymakers.
Washington Commanders, the Marcus Mariota-led Washington Commanders, put a beating on the Andy Dalton-led Panthers. What a sentence that I never thought I'd have to say. But the reality is, this offense looked great, even with Mariota. Like, shout out to Cliff Kingsbury for being able to put together this system that can produce these type of results, and Dan Quinn for having this defense play to another level.
I was going to say, yeah, no, it's not right. We can't just give it to Cliff because Dan Quinn has this personnel that is far from complete humming. They're humming on both sides of the ball. That's how you know you're a damn good football team. Commanders fans, left hand up. Is that their thing? I always want to say right hand up, but then I'm like, no, it's left hand up, right? They're left hand up squad.
I don't know. I don't even know what that is.
Hold on. Fact check. Hold on.
What is that? What is left hand up?
Bro, they have like this theme song. You never heard this?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, left hand up. You're gonna have to go take a look after the. You're gonna have to go take a look later. You're gonna cheese. They have a theme song called left hand up.
All right, Philadelphia Eagles. They come and beat the New York Giants. I think the biggest thing I took away from this game is the defense looked normal again.
Defense looked normal again. Run game looked fantastic again. That's the recipe for winning the football in 2024, 2025 season. Call for what it is. When you play like that, you got to be A plus no matter who your competition was. Yeah, you want to see it against a team that's not the Giants, but it doesn't matter because regardless, it's an A plus performance. And it gave Sirianni a reason to talk some more shit to the fans. I don't think he was, but if there's ever a week he wanted to sit there and start chirping the fans, it could have been last week. I'm going to leave it at that.
The Pittsburgh Steelers come and dominate the New York Jets. I think this was one of the best performances by a team that I've seen all year. It just seemed like they were working on every front, especially on the special teams, getting those blocks in, which one of them was not a penalty. That was not leverage in my opinion. But
no.
I mean, Russ came out, the defense performed, the special team performed. Honestly, the best 3 stages of football I've seen this year.
No, absolutely, especially considering how rusty Russell Wilson should have been, but he wasn't, and everybody was prepared. Mike Tomlin, That's why, like he said, this is why he's well compensated. I don't know if you saw that or not,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Mike Tomlin let him know that, hey, this is why I'm well compensated, because I make the tough decisions, and just don't question Tomlin. I guess at this point, he's kind of like let us know that year in and year out. Where we want to question him. He says, "Pump the brakes."
Yeah.
I'm Mike Tomlin.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been our week 7 grades. If you don't know ball, want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Let us know in the comments who we graded too highly or too lowly.